How's it going, everyone? Theme Park Tracker here at Six Flags Magic Mountain with more exciting things happening on site for Wonder Woman Flight of Courage and the rest of the park. Starting off at Wonder Woman construction, they are in the process of putting in the stall, and corkscrew element underneath that just sits in line with the start of the lift hill. This seems to be the priority right now, with the chain lift possibly next, as they have the pieces on site, as we'll see in a behind the park shot coming up later in the update. Railings are being added to the track that leads out of the station and into the lift hill. To the right of that, the stucco work on the front facade for the station is still in progress. They have molded the pillars in the front with a sort of design. It's hard to tell, but they look hollowed out. There's actually a decent amount of work being done to this building, which was difficult to determine from the renderings they gave us. Thankfully, Magic Mountain has given the station a proper uplift for the new coaster, instead of just reusing the plain metal and gray look for the Green Lantern First Flight station. Here's another look at the final brake run turn into the station and transfer track, which we'll see later again in the behind the park shots. Over to the right, where the newly named Teen Titan Spinner is, progress has halted to a standstill on this project. The newly built white entry is just sitting there waiting for paint and signage. The side of the building also hasn't been touched yet, which will remain the same, design-wise, just with new paint. And here's a quick update on that gift shop. Right now, it's still the steel frame that we saw in the last update. There isn't much to see here at the moment because of the angle in which this building is situated against the construction walls. Summer is fast approaching, so hopefully we get quick progress on this gift shop. Over by Crazanity, they installed what I'm calling the Bunny Hill portion that is one of the last few elements you'll encounter on this ride, before making that last turn into the brake run. Behind that, the lift hill is just sitting there waiting to be put together. Some of the best news found on this visit was they are painting the parts of the supports that suffered paint chipping. Here we see one of the workers applying paint to this support. One of the biggest concerns about this project ever since they put the first supports up in front of Justice League was all the chipping that was present on the supports even though they just received them. This could have been from sitting in the overflow lots for too long or transporting them to the park and construction site. A welcome quality assurance fix that will be applied to the whole coaster, it seems. Those dark red spots you see everywhere on the supports are most likely primer for the paint roller to go over and fix the nicks and dings that are present. They have a lot of areas to touch up, and then they have to go over the yellow track after all the smoothing they did. Next up, they were putting this silver metal molding around the support footer bolts. Not entirely sure for the reason, but this is most likely to secure the bottom parts of the bolts. They had these molds on most of the footers around the area in front of Justice League. We're gonna have to keep an eye on this one to see what they end up doing. And here's an overall look at the project from the Superman Plaza. These supports weren't even up a few weeks ago, so it's crazy to see this thing built so quick, and another coaster added to the Magic Mountain skyline. Behind the park, we gotta look at many things that are harder to see from within the park. The inside of the station looks pretty plain right now, but they do have all the track and safety rails on the side installed. From the looks of it, the station is going to retain the metal panel design that was found on Green Lantern, but will at least be painted white to better match the exterior facade. Over in front of the actual land, they are redoing the concrete for the star or compass design they already had. This was the planter in front of the DC Universe arch, and had the Christmas tree with the missing bottom pieces during Holiday in the Park. The question now is if they're doing this to change the colors of the points. Looks like they're keeping the red, and before it was a combination of that and yellow, so we'll have to see what they do. Off in the center of the land, they have these three oddly placed planter boxes with the right one containing a fire hydrant. This is really odd placement and not shown in any renderings for what they might be used for, outside of just planters. If they are planters, then hopefully they add trees to them instead of just bushes like they did for the planters in front of Justice League. Down below that, we got a closer look at the final brake run and all the components that are sitting on top. They also have scaffolding around the Ferris aircraft sign, which pretty much confirms they're going to reuse it for Wonder Woman. This will most likely lead us into the extended queue behind it, which now has a red tarp above it as the shade structure. On the right side of the station, we have the actual transfer track sitting on the ground, along with a look at the single storage track already up. They have 3 lift hill pieces with the anti-rollback rails on them sitting on the ground. On to the rest of the park update. The fountains at the front of the park are still under refurbishment. They filled it with water partially, and the workers were wearing rain boots while working in there. They could have filled it up briefly for a quick test, so that can mean a hopeful return soon for these scenic fountains. Over by Full Throttle, they added new unthemed umbrellas to the unshaded part of the queue in the middle, a much needed change that is also replicated across the ride in front of the Coke Freestyle building, where they also added unsponsored umbrellas to shade guests waiting in line for food. The park has been on a roll lately, adding shade everywhere, and must have bought hundreds of these umbrellas to achieve this. X2, unfortunately, is still running one train, or unit as the park likes to call it. The second train is still on the maintenance tracks, and 2 of the 7 cars are still missing on this train. They are most likely being assembled in the coaster shop backstage, and will be transported over soon. The park also has a 3rd train that is nowhere to be found. That too could be in the coaster shop, or sent somewhere off property to the manufacturer to do more detailed refurbishment. Hopefully X2 returns to normal operation soon, as summer is fast approaching. More unsponsored umbrellas were added in front of Soda Springs by Tatsu, and above some benches in the area, providing shade to the areas where trees don't hit. Jetstream has reopened again after its brief closure. Strange how they had both trash cans partially blocking the exit, and no one moved them. Not sure for the reason it was closed, but they had the entire thing drained a few days ago. Also, there were crews up above Ninja's final brake run, performing some repairs. Not sure if it's planned maintenance or something else, but hopefully they get it up and running soon. Lastly, upon exiting the park, I noticed an advertisement for the 2020 passes and add-ons on the very far right ticket booth that hasn't been used in years. Just look at those prices, and you can add a basic dining plan for only $55 or $90 for the 2-meal, snack, and drink premium. Anyways, that's all for this update. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel for more updates on Wonder Woman and Six Flags Magic Mountain. Thanks again, and see you on the next update.